Hey everybody, welcome to Soft Pants Nation. My name is Amanda Duncan. Oh, well, that'll be happening throughout the whole entire episode. My name's Amanda Duncan. I'm a singer-songwriter from New Jersey. I'm a craft maker. I'm a techie geek. I just like making stuff, and I made this show to inspire people to believe in themselves and to feel like they can find the creative energy to live a creative life, and in doing so, leaving the world a better place, which, boy, do we need. Oof. It's been, say, a couple weeks, and I had like all this stuff planned for the show, and I'm thinking like, oh, maybe I should pivot. And then I'm like, well, no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick to what my plans are because I don't want to let anything get in the way of that. But so again, welcome to the show. And for those of you who've never seen this show before, I start the show off with one of my original tunes. So let's do it. Every time I see your face, I get so confused. You're giving me the runaround, it leaves me feeling used. I never thought that I would be the kind of girl to beg and plead, but oh. Please, baby, I know, baby, that you, baby, will never see the light of day, dear. And it doesn't matter what I say or what I do. I've got a feeling that I'm getting over you. I'm tired of all your silly games that you always play. It's like some kind of cat and mouse. I know I am the prey. I never thought that I would be begging for your sympathy, but oh. Please, baby, I know, baby, that you, baby, will never see the light of day, dear. And it doesn't matter what I say or what I do. I've got a feeling that I'm getting over you. You got everybody whistling your tune. Not me, baby, I'm no fool. Next time it's gonna be me to take you by surprise and tell everybody. Oh, hold on. And tell everybody, got it, about your love. Well, please, baby, I know, baby, that you, baby, will never see the light of day, dear. And it doesn't matter what I say or what I do. I've got a feeling that I'm getting over you. All right. I think I'm sort of getting the hang of this lighting. I think. Sort of. I don't know. I've been working on and off for the past couple months, and I think that it kind of looks cool. I've been not pulling my couch out far enough away from the wall to let the light spread across. See the little blue light? Anyway, that's why I said techie geek, right? So so today is yay. Well, so not today, but this month is International Women's Month. Women rule, and I'm so happy to have been able to celebrate it with this show, and my co-producer Faith Sanko is an awesome woman, and so it's been fun trying to better the show with her, and I'm just so I'm happy about that. It's still National Craft Month in the month of March. I haven't really done that much crafting, but I will tell you why, because it turns out that this past week Joanna and I finally filmed the beginning of the end of my second best video. And for those of you who know that I put out a single 2 weeks ago, my song Second Best, which is on my upcoming album, Big Time Superhero. And I wanted to give you guys a little sneak peek. We did I don't know how big my living room is. It's small. It's not very big. So, but we made it into a whole for real video studio with a huge green screen in the back, and it's been a real learning curve. I just really have had to do a lot of homework to do everything right and to get all the camera settings. So it's been a pretty wild ride, but things are moving finally with it, and I've been editing things, and I just want to show you really quick what that looked like. Now, this is a really flat image, which is hard to, for those of you who aren't video people, I did a good job is what I'm saying with the, so it looks like a legit green screen, right? I'm really excited about it. Anyway, so there's that. And I know that I don't know if it's today, but maybe this week it's, it's National Storytelling Day. And I just like to have like grab all these like holidays that like you've never even heard of, just because it kind of helps me purpose the episodes. And a lot of times we tell ourselves stories about things that we can do and what we can't do, and that kind of goes into the theme of today's episode, which is be kind to yourself. And for those of you who let's see, so the believe in your damn self flow chart. I talk about this a bunch, but a lot of times it's because I just want you guys to get an idea, start learning about it, think about what you want to do with that skill, or just whatever. It doesn't have to be a skill or just hobby. And then you schedule your time to do that thing, and then you share it with the world. And so I've talked about this a lot on the show, and there's just so many things in my life where I've kind of told myself, no, like I can't do that. That's not realistic. And then I kind of just say, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like myself. I'm just going to do this. And I just feel like I have a lot of other people in my brain telling me, like other people in my life, or just society saying, you can't do that. That's weird. Or like, you can't do that because of XYZ. And just, that's a story I tell myself, right? So I think that part of doing this show is, I think some people may, and talked about it before, some people may think this show is silly. Well, to me, I just know that I want to have people that are around me that encourage me, and I want to encourage them. So that's why this show exists. And I want to just quick ask a question in the chat. So I want to say, hey Faith, hey Jazzy, hey. And Gina's here. Hey Doug. Hey Katie. I don't know if you're still here, but I just want to say, Melissa, what's up? So the question of the week is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you speak to yourself? How positive do you speak to yourself? So like 1, like really bad, like not so good, or 10, like amazing. So you can feel free to put your number in the chat, or you could just say it in your brain or in your heart. I would say I'm 6, which I don't know. I think that I'm about a 6. I think that a lot of times I really encourage myself, but I'm really, really hard on the work that I do. So, yeah. So again, this episode is kind of about just being, Gina says, I'm a 3, but I'm working hard on this. It's really, really hard. I read a book a while ago because I just was really down on myself. And my friend Janet, she told me about this book called How You Talk to Yourself. And how we talk to ourselves, it's like, oh, I'm really bad at this thing. Or I'm like, really, like we kind of nonchalantly talk about how we talk to ourselves in a bad way. And I heard this thing, if a general rule, if you wouldn't say that thing, that word, that sentence to a 5-year-old, you shouldn't say it to yourself, because you're just being mean to yourself for no reason. It doesn't get you any further. So Dave says, I'm a 10 some days and other days a 1, not much in between. Okay, I see what you mean. Dave says 8 with a healthy dose of get it together, whole teen. Yeah, Dave, I could see that about you, and that's why I feel like you accomplish so much. And you get so much. You do so many things with your art and inspire people all the time, including me. And so Jenny says 7.5, but this is a drastic improvement for where I was a year ago. So these things we have to think about. Wait, that is terrible for me to say to myself. I do this a lot with my cooking. Joanna's in the other room, and she probably would. Don't yell at me, but I'm always hard on what the food I make. I'll bite into it, and as soon as I bite into it, I critique myself. And like, really, I just can't help myself. And what is that about? Anyway, so this episode, I met my friend Preston Pugmire, who's my special guest, when I was college touring. And he was a singer-songwriter, and he was booking a ton of shows. I was always so inspired by all of his tactics of being able to book a lot of shows, really connect with people. And then he started kind of turning the corner, and when he was at home, he was touring so much, he wanted to be home a little bit more. So then he pivoted to public speaking. So then after that, he realized that he was making more money with that. And then he was able to kind of go out a little bit less and still make a bunch of money and be home with his family. And so I just have connected with him. I've kept connected with him over the years. And he's since become somebody who he's a podcaster. He's, a life coach now. And what he does specifically is that he works with entrepreneurs. So when they have business goals, they go to him and he'll say, okay, like, what are your business goals? And people a lot of times will talk about how much money they want to make per month. So in this interview that you hear with him, he's going to be talking a little bit about numbers, and that's what that's referring to. So I tried to gear this towards the being hard on ourselves, trying to be kind to ourselves. It kind of just had a life of its own. So I hope you guys appreciate what Preston had to say. He's a great friend of mine, and I'm so happy that he was able to take the time for me to interview. We actually filmed this last week. So enjoy. Hooray, Preston. Yay. Thank you for being
here. We are.
Yeah, here we are. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here, because I think over the years, having known you, obviously first as a musician, singer-songwriter, and then you started pivoting to this world of speaking and inspiring people to be the best versions of themselves. And it's been awesome to follow the journey. And I've just really loved every single time you've pivoted in a certain way, because I know that you're just trying to become the best version of yourself. And it's just been such a blast to see just to be a part of the journey and to listen to your podcasts as they go along. So I want you
Well,
to.
thank you.
Yeah. So I'm just thrilled that you're here. And this episode, as we spoke before, I told you that it's about the belief in yourself, because as
Uh-huh.
I learned from you in your podcast, that the mindset of believing in yourself, that's the first step in being able to start any project, any journey of bettering yourself. You have to believe that you can get to that from point A to point B. And I
Yeah.
just would love for you to talk a little bit about that.
Well, thank you so much, man. It's great to be here. So you talk about my whole thing is mindset before strategy. It's not mindset instead of strategy. It's you have to have the mindset beforehand. Now, the reason that when I kind of came up with this was I had this experience where I launched a podcast called Next Level Life, and when I launched it 2.5 years ago, it debuted at #1 on the iTunes charts in my category of personal development. And there was a lot of work that went into that. There's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, but it started with the mindset. I literally told everybody on Facebook,
I
Instagram,
remember.
all around, like a month before I even put out one episode, I said, this podcast will debut at #1 on launch day in my category. And I believed that that it was going to happen. And that belief, like, allowed me to get to the point where I was going to take action on that. So what happened is, like a year later, I was being introduced at this thing on stage, and they introduced me in my bio. And after the event was over, they talked about that. After the event was over, this kid came up, I don't know, he's in his 20s, and he said, "Man, you're from the same small town as me. I want to start a podcast, and you started a podcast and it was successful. Like, what? How did you do that? How did you do that?" And so I
Also, you're
kind
from
of was.
Idaho, right?
I'm from
What are the
Idaho.
chances?
Yeah, right. And well, this event was in my hometown, so
Okay.
that's why. but but he said, how did you do that? And I wasn't trying to be a jerk, but I was just kind of testing him a little bit. And I said, hey man, like, if I told you all the steps right now, if I told you everything that I did, do you think that you could launch a successful podcast? And he goes, oh, me? No, probably not. And so I said, well, if you don't think that you can, then the steps don't matter. And he goes, like, to his credit, he goes, oh yeah, I guess you're right. And then he walked away. Like, it was a beautiful, aware conversation. And so
Yeah.
this idea of mindset before strategy, the steps are important. But if you think that the steps are going to save you or going to get you to where you want to go, like the steps themselves,
Right.
then not if, but when you hit a roadblock or you hit some sort of thing that is going to throw you off, and you're going to get hit a dam for a second, in that moment you're going to say, well, I need to find a new set of steps, or the steps didn't work, or I'm broken, or something. Like, you're just going to
Right.
quit. And so if you have the belief that your success is inevitable, whatever success means to you, then when you hit a roadblock, it's not the steps fault. It's like, okay, what did I learn from this? And then you find a new pathway, and you're intentionally moving towards that inevitability through what I learned from Jack Canfield, which is ready, fire, aim. You get your bow, you pull back, you get ready, and then most people just pull back their bow and then they aim, and then they aim some more, 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 and they're like, oh, it's not the right time to do this. Oh, or I need to get a new camera before I do this, or I need to get.
Yes.
We've all been in the
Oh,
pit
you're
of
so talking
needing
about me.
more equipment, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Or I need to do this time thing, or I need to get my website set up, or I need to do that. Yes, those things are helpful, but it's mindset before strategy. So the mindset is you get ready, and then you fire the arrow. You have to fire the arrow. And then you aim afterwards. What that means is you look at your results. Where did you hit on the target? Did you fall short? Were you to the left, to the right? Were you aiming at the wrong effing target? Like, you don't know that. Is the wind going to affect the arrow? Was the sight off on the bow? All these are analogies, but like,
Right. Right.
you
Right.
don't know that until you fire. And so you aim for the second firing. So this is where scarcity mindset comes into play, because people have this idea that you get one shot because of the Eminem song from 8 Mile. Like, no, you don't get one shot. Like, There's so many opportunities, and yeah, but friggin' fire, and
Yeah.
then re-aim, fire another arrow, fire another air, aim, do boom, boom. It's repeat, 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 because opportunities are just in your quiver. And if you have the guts to get out of your own way and stop being fearful,
Right.
then you're willing to take a shot and then another one and learn from from the feedback that you got.
Right. And part of the believe in your damn self flow chart, there is a
Yeah.
part of just, starting before you're ready, because
Yeah.
you have to just start. And like a lot of people's problem is just starting something, because a lot of times if you start something, you're able to kind of go, oh, okay, this isn't so bad. If I touch this every day a little bit, or if I continue to just like, starting is sometimes like just the hardest part.
Yeah. And it's important to know yourself. Like, I am a tremendous starter. I will start 10 different projects on day one. I'm not the best finisher. Other people are really good finishers and not good starters.
So my question is, what are the 3 biggest things that you think get in the way of people achieving their goals?
Love that question. Um, in my opinion, I have something I created called the blueprint for success, right? The blueprint is basically, it's an acronym, and you set the bar for success. Set the bar, SETBAR, right? So you can remember that. Set the bar for success, SETBAR. What does that stand for? S is for your state. Now, this is the thing that we say the top 3 things. I would say the number one thing is that people start with the question, what should I do? And if you start with that question, it's a very important question. But if you start with that question, you've already skipped so many things. So set the bar, SETBAR, stands for state, emotions, thoughts, beliefs, and then you get to the last 2, which is actions and then results. And people focus on actions and results. What results am I getting, and what actions am I taking? But here's the deal. If you don't get in the right state, then you're not going to set yourself up to actually take the right actions.
Right.
And so the number one thing that I think people get wrong, where they're just like shooting themselves in the foot, is they're not focusing on their state and their beliefs. So what is your state? Your state is the energy that you have. It's the way that you think about yourself. It's made up of your focus, your physiology, and your language. How are you talking? What words are you using? Are you saying things like, man, it's just hard, or man, this is a dumpster fire of a year, right? You're focused on like,
Yeah.
are you using words? Are you saying I can't, or I'll try, or it would be nice if, right? Are you using the language of decrease? I'm not talking about living in freaking fairy world
Right.
Disneyland where you're just like, yeah, everything is magic all the time, but like actually use words that are going to help you increase. Like, I stopped using the word hard because
Yeah.
I was finding myself using that as an excuse. There's little examples like that. I stopped saying I will, or I'll try, and I say, no, I can't do that, or I commit to do that. Like
Mm-hmm.
little language shifts like that.
Because it's more speaking in absolutes.
The second thing that I would say, so the first one is like your state, and like focusing on like the actions first. That's a
Okay.
problem, because the actions are important, but don't focus on that first. The second thing is your focus. People think that they're focusing on things by being, or focusing on the right things by being a realist, or by being an idealist, right? Like,
Right.
I'm not going to just be one of those delusional people. Okay, it's not about delusion versus realism. What it is about is, are you focusing on what you have or what you lack? Those are, at any moment, are you focusing on what you have access to? Because everybody has resources they have access to.
Yep.
Or are you focusing on what you do not have? And this comes out in your language too. So, am I focusing on what I have or what I don't have, what I lack or what I have access to? Because when you focus on what you have, it expands. And when you focus on what you do not have, it expands. Whatever you focus on expands. So don't pretend that everything is rainbows and unicorns. However, don't pretend that everything is chaotic and falling apart, because it's not. Um, I used to ask this question subconsciously in my head 24 hours a day.
Right.
I, 24/7, I would ask this question in my head. I would say, how do I make this better? No matter what it is. Like it's my office, my courses that I'm doing, my relationships, my just anything. If I'm
What a
going
good
out to
question.
dinner, it's a great question. However,
Okay.
one of the problems with that is I was always focusing on the problems. I was focusing on the things that were wrong so that I needed to make it better. And it turned into a thing where things were great and I was always improving,
Right.
but I was always focusing on the lack.
Yeah, it's like
And
weird
so
because you think that question.
yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm always bettering myself, right? I'm always like
Yeah.
trying to better myself, and you're thinking that you're asking this proper question, but then really in the end, you're not enjoying what you have in that moment. Like you're not being present.
Yes. And so what I did is I still asked the question. I just asked it second. And this is I have to be conscious about this like every day. And when I find myself kind of in a funk, I'm like, oh, I went back to my old question first as the primary question. So my first question is, what else is going well for me right now?
Right.
So the presupposition in that question is that at least one thing is going well for me. That's just like a given. Now let's find what else is going well. And guess what I'm starting to focus on? What I have, what I can control, what I can be grateful for, all the different things. And then I say, how can I make this better? And it's a whole different, it creates a foundation of gratitude and focusing on what I have. Then I improve things.
Okay.
And the second area of focus is, are you focusing on what you can control or what
Mm,
you cannot control?
huge.
In if anybody is having a rough day, listen to them talk for 4 minutes and you will hear two things. They're focusing on what they do not have and what they cannot control. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
And so, guess what? In any given moment, there are so many things that you cannot control, but there are so many things that you can. And when you focus on what you focus on expands. So if you focus on the things you can control, your influence and your ability to control the things in your life expands as well.
Mm.
And it's a daily thing.
Well, like it's like,
So
what
yeah.
kind of snowball do you want at the end of the hill, at the bottom of the hill?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Great.
what kind of,
Great.
do you want something that's really exciting and positive, or something like, do you want it like, Frost, like happy birthday, or do you want like, a terrible snow turd at the end? Like, maybe this is a terrible one now. This is going south, but I feel like it's what do you want the end result to be? And so
Yeah.
if whatever questions you're asking, and like, because I mean, let's face it, nobody likes a complainer, but we all, in a sense, kind of love to complain. So when you think about
Oh,
having to like,
yes.
there's always that person in your life who always complains. It's like, aren't like, and I'm such like a problem solver. I'm like, well, okay, like I'm okay with being upset for like maybe possibly a little while. But then the next
Yeah.
day, I am in like problem solving mode. It's like, okay, like, well, how can we fix this? But when
Yeah.
somebody just lives in that space of complaining, I just don't like, no wonder why they're tired and not accomplishing anything ever.
Of course. Of course, man. So yeah, what are you focusing on? Focusing on what you have or what you don't, what you can control, what you cannot. And so a lot of people will another thing is so interesting what you said. Like when you're complaining, when I'm complaining, when they're complaining, you're putting yourself in victimhood mode.
Right.
You're just like everything is just happening at you, to you. And there's a lot of stuff that's happening at you and to you. But when you focus on that, you're just complaining. Now you're in victimhood energy. And from that space, it's a really heavy energy where you can't get out of it.
No.
So the third thing that gets in the way of people is they try to go too far too fast. People don't talk about it in terms of a progression up what I call the ladder of believability. If you have a ladder, a 15-foot ladder, and it only has 3 rungs on it, it's going to be a hard ladder to climb.
Yeah. A lot of
Or
the people that are that follow the show are people who will say, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna go home and I'm gonna paint all night, and then I'm gonna finish this painting in like this week." And it's like it's really hard when, like you said, like the incremental steps that need to be taken.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not sexy. It's not,
No.
it's not, it's not fun. And it's not, it's like people love a before and after. Nobody looks at the during shot. Like the commercials that you see, they don't put up a during.
You're right.
That's not a thing. But we get so bombarded with these marketing messages, the before and after. But come back to this ladder of believability. Often I work with entrepreneurs who want to grow their business. Okay. And so I help them get into the right state where their mindset is right so that they can become the best version of themselves and then make more impact and grow. And it's really easy to measure how much money you made. It's not easy to quantify like how connected you are to your creator. Like, you know what I mean? So often we'll talk about it in terms of like measuring things. And so that's why I bring up money,
Yeah.
even
No.
though
Yeah. Because it's a measurement.
it's a measurement
Yeah.
and it's an important one. It is, because think about this. The times when you have not like all the money, but when you have like enough money and like you're able, it's Maslow's hierarchy, man. Like you're able to impact other people. You're
Of
able
course.
to make more of your art. You're able to feel more abundant and less scarce. And so I feel like that's, people say, oh, I'm not in it for the money. Like, okay, then why do you think that having money be a part of it is a bad thing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why is that even a thing? So it's not black or white. Like, I'm starving artist, not in it for the money, versus I'm a villain in a late 80s movie where I'm just like only in it for the money. Like,
Yeah.
it's not black and white like that. So the ladder of believability is like, where are you at in all these areas? And are you setting a goal for yourself that stretches you, but doesn't create so much resistance that you shut down?
Right. Which is like, I
Because
think
if
that
you,
is
yeah,
the with a a lot of the people who watch the show are people who like again they have like full-time jobs, and then they will, and I talk about it with some of my friends because now I have a full-time job, which
hmm,
I am in it for the money when it comes to that, because I am able to now, as you knew me during a time when I was like I was in a desperate way, and you helped me, you gave me the money for the plugin for my
oh
website.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You gave, because I was just so like I just was like, I'm in such a bad way, I don't know what to do. I lost all this, like this company stole all my money for my album.
yep,
And then you enabled me to get back on my feet. And because of that, I was able to move past that block. But it's funny because financially it's hard when that is in your way. And but also when I didn't have like the time or money to, like, was working 24 hours a day when I was doing freelance. And now when the clock hits 5 o'clock, I am able to completely disconnect and
yeah,
do my thing. But a lot of times I convince myself, like what you're saying is like I'm biting off, to go back to what your point is that I will say, oh, I'm gonna go do this and do that, and then I kind of realized over time, over having been at this job for a year, that I'm pretty much only able to accomplish one really big thing. So, knowing that that's my reality. And so I think, when you're talking to your clients, and it's like these, slow and steady wins the race, right? Is that kind of
yeah,
like the point that you're trying to get
for sure.
across? Okay.
Well, it's not just slow and steady wins the race. It's being intentional about what your next step is. So
Yeah.
if somebody says, okay, I did this and my next step is to 10x that, and I'm just like, I'll ask people this, how do you feel when you say that's your goal? And if they're like, oh, man, I don't know if I can do that. Okay.
Right.
That energy is not useful.
Right.
So, like for example, if somebody says 4,000, they're doing 4,000 a month, and then they want to go to 10,000. This is a real example that I had a couple of weeks ago. Like, okay, you want to do a $10,000 a month? How do you feel about that? What do you need to do in order to, let's list all the things you need to do to go from 4 to 10. And they're like, oh, okay. I could feel their energy like start to I'm like, okay, so, and I knew that I could tell what was going on. So I was like, but I wanted them to see it. What are you feeling right now? Like, man, I feel overwhelmed. where are you going to, if you're operating from a space of overwhelmed, what are you going to do? Because your beliefs are going to influence and inform your actions. So how are you going to show up? What's your
Right.
state going to be,
Right.
right? What are your emotions going to be? Set the bar, SETBAR. State, emotions, thoughts, beliefs, actions. What are your state, emotions, and thoughts and beliefs going to be if you're just operating from a sense of overwhelm? Okay, so if you did 4 last month, ask yourself this. What is a goal that, I like to use the language, it stretches you, but you can still wrap your heart around it?
Oh, that's nice.
Instead of wrap your brain around it, wrap your mind around it. Like, how can you wrap your heart around that? And she's like, oh, oh, 6. And it was completely different energy. And I was like, how would you feel if you did 6 next month? Because that's a 50% increase, man. That's not a joke. That's a great, great
Yeah.
increase. And then she's like, that would be a stretch, but I can do it.
Right.
But I can. So now her state, you can even see the energy, her focus, her physiology, the way that her eyes light up, and like the language she's using, it's completely different. Then her emotions, she's able to get those in check, her thoughts that she's intentionally thinking, and her beliefs about her ability to accomplish something. Then she hit 6. And now, okay, so now she hit 6 from the foundation, from the jumping off point of 6. How much easier is it to get to 10?
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Rather than trying to go. So that's just an example of it.
Let's just do a quick recap. So think about somebody who, is just kind of dabbling in some kind of hobby and is just or has always had this kind of twinkle in the eye of doing something maybe for like a side hustle or something. So
Okay.
with those 3 things you just talked about, what would you just kind of quickly say to them within those? I know you kind of like you sort of recapped, but just like
Yeah.
in the mindset for
So
those people.
if you're a dabbler, ask yourself, like, do you what do you want, man? What do you want? Because that's really, really important. Do you want to stay a dabbler? Because there is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Unless you are judging yourself for that. And oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about that compassion aspect of it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is like, you got to stop judging yourself, man. Compassion for where you are, for where you're going, for what you're doing. Allow yourself to feel emotions. One of my favorite people, Brooke Castillo, she says, the moment you stop judging yourself for the emotions that you're feeling, 50% of your negative emotions go away
Yeah.
immediately, because you're just feeling anger. You're just feeling impatience. You're just feeling jealousy instead of feeling bad for feeling anger and impatience and
Yeah.
jealousy. Just let yourself feel it, man, and then process it. But like, okay, so recap, whatever. I would say, do you want to be a dabbler? Do you want to be a dabbler? Do you want to be an expert? Which one do
Right.
you want to be?
Right.
And so allow yourself to be wherever you want to be. That's it.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah,
start
no,
there.
that's really
Define, like, what do you want?
that's such a
What do
good
you want?
way. And then cuz again like this is about having that belief in yourself cuz again, getting all the things you're talking about. It's like, all right, well, if you want to be here and you're here, well, guess what? You're going to have to make sure that you have the mindset. Like, what are you talking about at the end of the workday? It's like, oh, I'm just too tired. And a lot of times I just tell people, just touch it for 5 minutes. You may not have the
Yeah,
time, you may not have the 90 minutes to get into flow state, right? But
yeah.
to just touch it every day. And if you want to, some people who do watch the show want to do whatever that art or creativity for for full time, but a lot of times it's just kind of starting, with the belief that you can do it, and then during, like you were talking about, the compassion along the way.
So compassion. So this comes back to like the focus. That's the second area. Like, what are you focusing on, right? Are you focusing on what you have or what you lack, or focusing on what you can control, what you can't? In that space, in that area, compassion for yourself. What compassion means is self-acceptance and love given your current circumstances, no matter what. And it is a skill. It's not something you turn on or off. It's literally like a learning a language, or learning an instrument, right? Like that or learning a trade, like an art thing, something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a
You
learned
get
skill.
you get
Yeah.
better at it by practicing it. So practice forgiving yourself for things. Practice just being where you're at. Practice like taking a breath and saying, like, I am enough, and I'm in this situation.
I'm just so happy that you're here, and I love all the things that you've done with your career. I know that a lot of the people that I'm going to put a link to the Facebook group. Yes, is that okay? To
Of
your
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have all links to your stuff. You got some great social media stuff that I know you got a lot of cool posts planned for the year, and I know, and I've seen some of them, and they are great. And
Oh, thank you.
yeah, and you know, because those kinds of things take a lot. It's a lot of planning and a lot of work, and I definitely know that for sure. So I can't again thank you enough. I love you
Dude,
so
I
much.
appreciate it, man. Love you back. What a fun thing. I love what you've got going on. You are an inspiring person. I'm so honored to be able to like be your friend and to know you and like be invited to this thing. I think that what you've got going on with this show and with your skills and with everything is so cool. So thank you
Well,
for doing that.
thank you
Thank you
so
for inviting
much.
me.
All right. Well, I love you.
I love you back.
Ah.
I'll see you.
All right.
Bye.
Yay! um. So yeah. So that's there we go. Ladies, that's my friend Preston, and he's just a really impressive guy. He has a lot of energy. He is just an inspiring person. So I hope that you guys like that. It seemed like from the chat that people were getting that you guys were pulling out some of his points. And a big part of it, which we didn't really talk about that much in a way, but you know, being compassionate along the way with your goals. It's like, yeah, like what was the first point is, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting all the points. I probably should have written all of this down. But a big thing that what he was saying is doing too much too fast. And we're all like, we will say to ourselves, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then we get overwhelmed. And then we feel bad that we have not, that we're not the best at whatever that thing is. And I use this a lot as an example on the show where I take banjo lessons, and it is not easy. I've never been an instrumentalist. I write songs. I use my instruments to write my songs, but I've never really ripped it. Like I've never really like melded people's faces off with my instrument playing. And but a lot of times I'll just say to myself, I'm like, I don't have a lot of time to practice tonight. So I'll just right before bed, I'll say to myself, all right, I'll play for 5 minutes. I'll play some scales. I'll play a couple chords. And that's what I'll do. And at least I feel like I accomplished something with the banjo. And I, you know, because I'm paying money for the lessons, right? So that's a big part of it too. And you don't have to be taking lessons in any way, shape, or form. But if you want to get better at something, it just feels good just to do something too, where it doesn't have to be for getting better at something. It could just be, you know, I want to make a gift for somebody to make them feel good, and then I will take the time to do that. That feels good within itself. And actually, I feel bad because I'm a little off course because I normally start the show with a song and then I go right into Mover and Shaker of the Week, and I totally I'm all out of sorts. So let's do it. Mover and Shaker of the Week. Okay, this is my friend Kerri Sullivan. I met Kerri at an open mic night at Monmouth Regional High School. It was like when I first started to do a little bit of touring after college. And I was playing some high school open mic nights because I figured, well, you know, maybe I can get some new fans. And that's where I met Kerri. And we've been friends ever since. And I put out into the world, what cool things have you been doing? And I wanted to go over that with you guys right now. For 7 years, I've managed a collaborative Instagram project called Jersey Collective, where each week a different person takes over and shares their perspective on New Jersey. I'm also a writer and public librarian, so I really love books, and I have always wanted to make one. One day in 2016, I was killing time in Barnes & Noble, and I saw all the books that were facing out in their New Jersey section, where were all about Superstorm Sandy, and I thought that wasn't a great representation of the stories people in our state have to tell. We have other stories too. I decided I wanted to make an anthology of work about New Jersey and started putting together a book proposal in 2018. I submitted it to a publisher, Rutgers University Press, in early 2020 and signed the contract mid-year in 2020. No, that's not what I meant to do. Hold on. Okay. So I feel like a lot of things I've done over the course of my life have prepared me for editing this book, for being from being part of a literary magazines to going to film school to visiting museums and historic sites in New Jersey for fun on weekends to running New Jersey Collective. I have over 50 contributors in the book, and so being able to manage time and juggle a lot of different pieces of the project at once has been really important. I've done a lot of reading and research about book proposals and book editing, and I took a class on anthology editing as well. Holy cow, Kerri, that's crazy. You did a lot of stuff to prepare for this. I work full-time as a librarian, so I have been doing all of this work on weekends and evenings and on holidays. The book proposal took years. I had a lot of doubts. Would anyone publish this book? Read it? But I also had a little voice in my head that felt very sure I was onto something and that this would be a worthwhile use of my time. You know who will read it? My father will totally read this. He loves books about Jersey. I had about 10 months to put the collection together after signing the contract. It's due in May. Well, it's coming up. I'm so excited for other people to read it and for it to exist in a form other than a very detailed spreadsheet on my computer. The biggest thing that stops me from panicking about the project is the work is largely by other people, and I believe in them and their work so much. Oh, Gina, are you part of Jersey Collective? Are you part of that? Okay, sorry, that's in the chat. Oh, wait, I have to go into this, right? Yes, inspirational advice on how to move and shake. If you want to write or edit a book, read as much as you can. Read books that are similar to your idea and figure out what makes your idea different. Take classes and go to open mics and talk to other people who write. Being a part of a creative community where you can see other people doing the things you want to do will help you believe it's possible for you too. Okay, so awesome. Let's go to the slideshow. So this is, I guess, a book that she read at one point in time, What Editors Do. And this was, this was the Jersey section in Barnes & Noble. And I'm assuming, I didn't ask her details, but I'm assuming this is where all the people that are a part of the book on this Jersey map. I guess this is her workstation. And I guess a whole bunch of stuff that she's been writing up. And there she is. So, Kerri, I am so excited to get this book. I can't wait. I'm going to get it from my dad, and then I'll show it on air. I'll show a picture of my dad holding the book on air. How about that? So, everybody, I know that Kerri is actually working tonight at the library, so she can't watch live tonight. But if you guys could give her some props in the chat to let her know how wonderful this idea is, and so just let her know. And thanks so much and I have her Instagram and her website in the show notes. So check that out. All right. So this was a weird show because I'm like, I'll just join it because I didn't start. I didn't start with Mover and Shaker of the Week. Yeah, my lighting looks better this week, I think, even compared to the Preston interview. His lighting is very good. Shing! Okay, so, and I guess the last thing I'll do is I talked about this in the last episode for International Women's Month, but my plan is to write letters to 5 amazing women in my life by the end of the month. So far, I've written 2, so I have to write 3 more. So I just want to keep you guys up to date. So if you guys feel like doing something like this, or maybe just one amazing woman in your life, just send a letter. Let them know. There's no rules to it. It can be anybody. So I guess this kind of brings me out to the last song. All right. Well, yeah, we're about the full hour. And I know that I know that my brother's family was watching tonight. I told him that it's not as exciting as some of the holiday shows. So I said my guest is a life coach, and my brother said that that was okay. So I don't know if you guys are still watching, but I want to say hi if you still are. And thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm glad to I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be playing this music for you. Actually, I wasn't exactly sure what songs I was going to play because I did practice this one song and I don't feel like playing it because, it's my show. So let's see. I feel like, is it this one? Yeah, let's do this one. Why not? Let's do it. Whoa, oh, whoa, whoa, oh, whoa, whoa, oh, whoa. You hear the music from downtown. Your body starts to move to the unfamiliar sound. Your feet start running towards that song. It may be miles away, but it won't take very long. We'll be waiting for you to arrive. So just come on in, make yourself at home, and now the party comes alive. Yeah, everybody comes around here to feel the rhythm and soul. Everybody comes around here to get out of control, and I know that you've been waiting for the ride. The line's a little long, but you know that you're gonna have a really good time. Oh my gosh. Whoa, oh, whoa, whoa, oh, whoa, whoa, oh, whoa. I didn't practice, I'm so sorry. How can you go back to that grind? When you start to think about it, you start to lose your mind. But you have to walk out of this door and tie you both the loose ends from the life you had before. We'll be waiting for you to return. So just go ahead, do what you gotta do. And if there's one thing that you've learned, it's that everybody comes around here to feel the rhythm and soul. Everybody comes around here to get out of control. And I know that you've been waiting for the ride. The line's a little long, but you know that you're gonna have a real good time. Oh, and when you wait, that honky-tonk band will play. So don't be taking so long. Knock, knock, knocking on the door. What I tell you, baby, everybody comes around here. Feel the rhythm and soul. Everybody comes around here to get out of control. And I know that you've been waiting for the ride. The line's a little long, but you know that you're gonna have a real good time. Whoa, oh, whoa, whoa, oh, whoa, whoa, oh, whoa. Whoa, oh, whoa, whoa, oh, whoa, whoa, oh, whoa. All right. Seems like I'm going to have a little trouble with my stream. I see I have a little red light going on. So I guess that's my cue. Oh. So in closing, as per usual, I want to ask you, what are you going to create today? What are you going to create this week? What are you going to create this month? I think that for me, I just want to create hope in some way, shape, or form. That's really what I'm trying to do. So, as always, you don't need anyone's permission to do something that you're passionate about and you want to do. So, be kind to yourself. Talk to yourself with kind words. I know that it's hard, but you got to do it. Think about that question of how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how you speak to yourself in a positive way. So I think I said I was a 6. So maybe within a month I'll try to get it up to a 7. So I care about you guys so much, and I'll see you, I guess, in a few weeks. we're starting to do the show bi-monthly now because I have so much stuff going on with my music videos, and I have single releases every month for like the rest of the summer. So we might be experimenting with a Soft Pants Nation. What is happening? Soft Pants Nation laboratory, which I'll give you some details soon, but Soft Pants Nation, SPN Lab. So, good night, everybody. Hey, Kelly, good to see you. And let's hit the outro.